clearly we're not in a bar setting. I'm Justin Whitney, this is my eponymous show. And tonight, we have Humut Tabal from Austin.
You are here.
Hello.
This is my accomplice, Prokingu.
Hello.
So, we've just released the split album, Oaths of Stygian Dusk. I didn't remember the name. I don't apologize. With Plutonian Shore. Tell us about that.
Well, talks for the split originally came in early 2011, I believe. Plutonian Shore set aside some material that they were intent on releasing after they released Ave Mysterium and before they released Lunar Rites, which is coming out in December. And we were in sort of the same scenario. We had some songs that we wanted to dedicate to that and that we wanted to re-record in a better atmosphere with increased musicianship, polished songs that we didn't get a chance to up until then. So we collaborated, independently recorded the tracks at our own studios in our respective homes and merged them together. The artwork was done by Amethyst Moon of Plutonian Shore and was pressed by the Dreadlayer, and we got it released, and it is the first split to be released from the Dreadlayer so far. We've got a great sort of, I guess, feedback from it from the minimal people who listen to it, and hopefully after this weekend I'll be returning with enough copies to start stocking record stores and stuff.
So before we started filming, we were talking about playing shows in Austin and the, I guess, volatile nature of it. Can you tell us more about that?
Austin is indeed an interesting town. You know, you have other cities with music scenes, and I suppose different genres sort of dominate in different cities. In Austin, from what I can tell, the majority of what is being played and what is being paid for and what is desired by tourists and locals alike is independent folk music or blues music. So naturally, it's very hard for a metal band to kind of compete with this large demand for this one sort of music, with many clubs that host it and only a few that pertain to the more heavy, relevant genres of music. But as I stated before, it can really be a hit or miss, depending with where you book the show, on what day. There's often a lot of competition and often huge touring bands coming through, which draws a lot of people to that instead of to your show. In this case, there's a very large walk-in crowd on places like 6th Street, and you know, if you have, as we did in August of Blue October, playing right next door at Stubbs, not a lot of people are going to come see your show at Headhunters. But this isn't to say that there's a lack of talent in Austin at all. There's some magnificent bands, Versifier being one of them. I like Vesperian Sorrow a lot as well. Bat Castle are wonderful. So the talent is there. I just think that maybe there needs to be some cooperation, and maybe great things can happen, but a lot of people's schedules are frayed, and there's not really a centralized sort of area or company for these bands to interact with themselves, and they're often doing their own things, traveling in different places. So the really phenomenal Austin shows of good local talent only happen once so often, although I wish they happened more.
So you guys recently released a really nice photography album. Can you tell me more about that? Because I thought a lot of those pictures are really good.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
Thank you. The shoot that we recently released was taken with The Shapes of Sound, a friend of ours who is a relative of Spectral Manifest's Cryptos Granamir Grimm, and we've been working with him for design work since early 2009, and we decided to stick with him for this particular project. It started in December of 2010, and we went through different areas in the Texas Hill Country, tried out a couple different ideas, and just took 24 hours to basically span the scope of from traditional settings like forests and like I guess rustic ruins that we could find around the areas, and it evolved gradually when we went into the evening hours into experimentation with light manipulation and 30-second exposures and ranging exposures. And we got some really pleasant results, and we've been holding on to those photos for a long time, and I was a little bit stricken as to what I wanted to really do with them and talk with the guys about it, because we had acquired Prokingu recently, right around that time in March or February, and we have possibly another member joining soon. So I was questioning myself, do I want to release this entire album of just us three? but I decided as a portfolio for that year, still available for promotional needs, and as sort of a nostalgic retrospective thing, the last stages of Humut Tabal as a three-piece band, I did want people to see because they were great works of art. We worked very hard on them.
Tell us about your new member who has too much fun in her rehearsal videos.
That's what people have saying. There's no concrete decision on I suppose whether we're going to continue using her for the long run. For the most part, she's displayed some incredible talent. She can play the lead parts exactly as we please, and she can do the supporting parts as well. And we're very excited when we jam with her. It sounds great. She does wear that smile a little bit. That's what I've been hearing from people. But bringing stage appearance to life is another topic that we're going to be working on soon with her. But hopefully we will have her ready in time for the next few upcoming dates in October and November, and if not, then expect to see her in 2012, we imagine.
I think the only problem with the audio, at least on those, is just the acoustics of the room and, just a live jam session and camera placement. I mean, we had that problem too with all our rehearsals.
Oh, absolutely. It's
really hard to hear keyboards, especially when loud drums and bass.
Yes, there's no leveling of anything. There's no equalizing the mix. There's pretty much nothing. You just plug in and play when you do that. I think a lot of bands do that. So to just kind of whip a camera out and try and attempt to gain some actual credible footage is a difficult thing, but I felt the energy was there in the videos, and I felt with people being able to see physically what she was doing on the instruments that was a benefit as well, to kind of see what that would look like a little bit. Although, just us in a typical jam setting is not at all what you would see on stage, or we try and keep it that way.
So market test footage for black metal. How's that working out for you?
We've got some positive responses. We've gotten a couple responses concerned about keeping the raw sound, and once we do solidify a synthesizer player, that's something that I really want to stress, is that the raw and the evilness and the wretchedness and the wonder will not be taken away. It will only be increased. Every single member, including vocal duties, the two who do share vocal duties, everyone is an instrument. We all use them appropriately and evenly in the mix. Some people asked if we would be leaning more towards things like Dimmu Borgir experimentation with sound, cradle of filth sort of sound, and not at all. That's not what we're going for. We will use the synthesizer to further increase the rough textures within the music and to bring out the evilness, as opposed to heightening, dominant, symphonic, in-your-face sort of epic piano parts.
I think that's a better approach, because bands like that, they resign themselves to lazy songwriting, as they would rather write something sellable than something artistic.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely obvious that you guys are more on the artistic side, and you're a really standout band in Texas, if not U.S. metal alone.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Gribzar, while coming from a classical background, he's a piano player by nature. That's what he started going to school for. I think he might have recently switched up his majors, but he still practices consistently, and that was his first approach to music. So I think when he goes about the songwriting process and delivering ideas to us, they come from a base of classical composure, because that's only what he knows, but it's in no way classical or symphonic like one would consider Dimmu Borgir, because he transitions the parts from what he plays on a piano to the other instruments in a way that serves the final product as a whole, as opposed to just taking one sound and taking it across another song and making it as like one sort of relatively weak effort with huge symphonic parts to make it distracting. It's a process of turning what you sit down with your instrument into a full song, and I think he really pays a lot of attention to the details of that process, which is why we come out with the resulting material as it is, not particularly sounding like Dimmu Borgir, or at this point in time, I hope it doesn't. Hope not everyone's lying to me, but
I never lie to you.
there's honest people in the world, still, so it seems.
But how can you be sure that I'm not lying to you now? Lying to you about lying to you.
Well, I can't, so all I can do is take your word and make my own conscience feel better by knowing that you're not lying.
Because Satanists are liars. They take pride in that.
Is that
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just making that up. I would assume they have no problem with lying.
I'm assuming that's going to get some YouTube comments.
Your video sucks! Satanists aren't liars, we're true to ourselves.
You're true to acting like some guy that wrote a book and was a calliope player in a carnival.
I think that can be said of many different faiths. But you know, for that reason, there is that walk of life, and there are those who choose to do so.
So, educate the people on the meaning of the name Humut Tabal that aren't occult nerds like myself and Chris Campbell.
Well, Humut Tabal, in Sumerian mythology, played a role very similar to Charon in Greek mythology, who was the boatman of the dead across the river of the underworld, but in Sumerian mythology it's a lake. And he's represented as the storm bird, which there's stone engravings of him, one of which we used for our first EP release, Gods of Darkness, Hate and Flame, a four-armed man with a man bottom, legs, and then a bird's head. I've seen other depictions with just two arms as well, but that seems to be the most common depiction, I suppose. And he ferries people on his boat, and once they reach the other side, they must pass through the 7 gates of the underworld to reach Ereshkigal, who is the goddess of the underworld. So he doesn't play a dominant role in the mythology. He's known as the one who lingers for too long. But his theme of deliverance and guidance is something that we played on for a long time. And the name originally was Rex's idea, and we've only come to sort of learn about it more and explore the meaning of it as time has gone on. It's I guess sort of a mystery that we chose at first for no particular reason, but it turns out that it's been a very, very suitable name, besides the different influx that everyone puts on it, which I actually kind of appreciate.
Has the mythology of the name itself lent itself to the developing mythology of the band and, I guess, concept albums?
Well, Grimzar's lyrical material is not specifically mythological or occult in any one field, or satanic for that matter. There is not one dominant theme. As far as concept albums go, the one story that we've sort of begun to play on is just that of the ancient hero who leaves his home to defeat his nemesis, accomplish a goal, and return, which is one of the oldest archetypes of stories that man really knows. But as far as any particular mythology transcending to lyrical themes or characters within our work, there really is no connection.
But you're sticking to the mythological, epical theme of the hero's journey?
That's one that we've played around with for a while, and I'm kind of dodging the question here and talking around it because I can't say very much. But for a new project that we do have in mind, that is the dominant theme that will be displayed in it, and I imagine people will start hearing about that in 2012 or mid 2012.
Well, what happens if Quetzalcoatl comes awake from that hole in Peru, that sinkhole that just happened overnight? I believe that the dragon's going to come out of that hole, and it's going to be a winged serpent and shoot lightning at people. Kill us all.
We can only hope.
Do you think we'll get your album done by then?
Well, done, yes. Released, that's a different story.
I don't really have plans for late 2012. I mean, I've already taken the December 21st off of work for fear of death of the world.
Yeah. I think a bunch of people are making the 2012 phenomenon out to be something much more significant than Y2K was in many regards. And you know, oftentimes I find myself wondering where I will be on the day when the Earth does decide to quake, if that does happen in my lifetime, and if it is in that year. I hope I have a little more time, because I'd sure as fuck like to be able to go to a bar and buy a beer by myself before the world ends. I'm going to be really mad if I die before that happens.
Sorry. Here's a horribly racist question. Do you think the Mayans just stops their calendar at 2012 because they're lazy like all the other Mesoamericans and they just didn't want to finish for their daytime siesta?
Maybe they ran out of stone. You know, no one knows what happened.
They had full pyramids of stone. They could have continued the calendar.
Maybe they used up all the stone on the pyramids.
That's true. They didn't have any circular stones. But then their culture just disappeared. What's up with that?
A result of tribal imperialism, I suppose, is the only thing I can say.
I think disease also played a part.
These the filthy conquistadors.
Maybe not conquistadors, but possibly other tribesmen from further away that would live farther away enough to carry diseases that were common to them. I have no idea. I'm not an anthropologist.
I like to lend my thought of the death of the tribes to that horrible Muppet Panther from that Mel Gibson movie.
Wow.
I think he's what killed everything. And just the reality broke because this guy was getting eaten alive by a Muppet.
Very, very good, very good.
The whole rest of the film had wonderful production value, and then just...
Well.
Then you see like a Panther Kermit.
Muppets are frightening in their own regard.
So, you looking forward to that new Muppet movie?
Let's see Stockholm Muppets. Next question.
How do you feel about falconry?
It's very elegant.
It's in my talking points. I mean,
It's very elegant.
It is indeed very elegant. The ancient Roman practice of augury, of predicting future events by birds' movements, has been a recent topic of conversation amongst our band, and we've been or at least one of us has been experimenting with aerial flight patterns of birds, and their behavior is dictating and translating to our shows and how we do and how the crowd is.
Do you feel you're going to have a good show if you see a hawk with a snake clutching its talons flying above you that day?
I'd say that, I can't speak for him, but I'd say that he'd say that was correct.
Couldn't hurt.
What if you saw 2 ravens in the morning, but then 3 in the afternoon?
I don't think we have ravens in Central Texas.
Crows.
Oh,
Grackles.
well, the grackles are everywhere.
Corvids. Corvids in general.
Yeah, you'd probably see far more than 2 or 3, in my opinion. A bird smashed into his window the day I got in a car wreck a couple weeks ago, which was interesting in itself.
Were those related incidents, or...
You tell me.
I couldn't tell.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I can't speak for him, so I don't know either. But
was he like behind you and hit his brakes and you veered off and like?
oh no, I was going over a hill. You know, we have those in Austin, and I was coming down this hill about 150 yards away from an old red CRV with a non-bright turn signal. There's a very bright sun in my face, and slammed on my brakes and still hit him about going 50. But the good thing was that they were able to drive away immediately while my car was totaled. So, cheers to that fuckery.
Damn sun gods, getting in the way of everything. All right, what do you guys think about the new Absu album? That's coming out later this month.
I haven't heard it yet, but what I have heard is phenomenal. Absu is my favorite metal band ever, and I'm completely confident that they're going to deliver an astounding product.
I completely agree. I'm entirely looking forward to it. I was mad when I found out that it was getting pushed back, but I think that was almost maybe a strategic decision on Candlelight's part for sort of giving the U.S. a little bit more time to flex their muscles and to really let their hunger grow for the new album, because now I think it'll sell a little bit more since it's coming out late.
Do you feel slightly enraged that it's made the Pitchfork.com playlist?
It doesn't
I
really
mean,
matter to me.
living in Austin, I'm sure you guys get your views of hipster influx, where hipsters will come to a black metal show and ruin it with their fuckery.
Well, you know, the thing about being hip is, I think, one of the main pursuits you always have to keep in mind is variety and not just sticking to one thing. So, I mean, if they do go to a show, their money is contributing to it. If they're rude and they're obnoxious, then they get kicked out. If they shut up and stand in the corner and like the music, then that's one thing I don't particularly try to try and label somebody as necessarily an unwanted presence just because they do scream hipster at me. if they do, that's something I will keep in mind personally. But if they're there to watch the music, I think they're there to watch the music. And as far as Absu's making of the Pitchfork playlist, I think any publicity is really good publicity. I think if you have a band that is outwardly not trying to, I guess, retain any sort of seriousness or respect to their own art or regard, the first thing that comes to mind is liturgy, because liturgy. I think a bunch of people were really astonished at how hipster they seemed, and I think some people took it as sort of sarcastic joke, and then I think some people really liked the music itself and appreciated it. So there's these two different sort of points of view to, I guess, letting that crowd into black metal or extreme metal.
I guess the issue is that by definition hipsters are hyper consumers, and hyper consumerism can easily destroy a subculture.
If there was any genre of music that was not made for that particular thing, I'd say it would be black metal as well. I'm talking about things like true and cult and anti-commercialism in its entirety. But I think a lot of the artists' music does deserve respect and deserve attention, and I think a lot of it with a growing audience will come to a point where it can start to be economically fundable as the years goes by and more people sort of learn about this thing, because I'd say that more people now still listen to the second wave of black metal and the Scandinavian bands, and are growing into more of the present of what's coming out of Europe and the United States as well. I think there's just more of a general fan base. I don't necessarily see it fading anytime soon, even though people will say that black metal was dead in the 90s as soon as the entire fucking operation ceased in Norway. But I'll keep my opinion on that to myself.
You can tell the masses. 70 people tops are gonna watch this.
Well, I'm not sure.
I guess the masses is not my friends.
Yeah.
You can tell my friends.
And that's okay. Now
Who aren't
we're
even
back,
here.
Now we're
I
back.
hate you.
Now we're back at the anti-commercialism.
You're bad
back
friends. Elsa, Robert, Aaron, Matt, Marcus, the girl that Marcus is not here to be with.
That still has to be at least 10 views each, and I doubt that's going to happen.
Especially
So there
her.
must be other masses. I will keep it to myself.
What are your 3 favorite beers?
I'm probably going to get some shit for this, but I haven't necessarily acquired a lust for the particularly dark brews as of yet. I'm a big fan of German Pilsner, so I'd say number 1 is probably Beck's. Somewhere down on maybe even lower than 3, maybe a 4 or 5, or probably a couple of different independent wheat beers, which I guess is sort of hipster thing to say in myself, but on a hot summer day, I do enjoy Fireman's 4. Jester Kingcraft's black metal beer, I'm not gonna lie and say I do enjoy it, which is saying that I enjoy black coffee. I really don't, but there is a flavor about it that I really do appreciate, and with small sips, drinking it particularly for the flavor as opposed to finishing the bottle, which is not something that really happens without punishment in the morning for my 150 pounds of bean. But I do very much like that flavor.
I've not gotten a hold of the Jestercraft Black Metal beer yet.
I heard recently that they stopped stocking Houston with it for whatever reason. San Antonio as well, and I think Austin now is the only place where it is available.
Where can I get it in Austin?
The brewery is located in Driftwood, which is relatively near our domains in the southwest, about 30 or 45 minutes outside of town. But any H-E-B or Central Market or Whole Foods independent grocer would probably carry it, I imagine.
So now, when I want to get my sorbet, I have to go and find this Jestercraft Black Metal beer.
Well, then,
I have driven to Austin just to get a sorbet.
from where?
They don't 7-Eleven. They don't have 7-Elevens in Houston. It's some like weird thing with Valero and other gas companies that 7-Eleven can never be like in Houston. So I can never have an like honest to goodness Slurpee.
theirs is more honest to goodness than Valero. Mind you, I'm not a Slurpee drinker, so I don't know these things.
I mean, I guess it's all the same ingredients, but it would be
They just do it extra good.
I mean, they got like I got my Darth Vader Slurpee cup.
The Darth Vader cup. Well, if you will drive there for a Slurpee, then I'm sure you will drive there for this beer, and I certainly recommend it because it does have a wonderful, wonderful flavor, as dark and brutal as it is.
What about you, Mr. Silent Guy? This reminds me of the Archon and Faustus interview from that Beelzebub Black Metal movie where he just sat there like handing the guy talking cigarettes the whole time.
In terms of favorite beers,
Yes.
let's say Shiner, Lone Star, just Texas thing, and probably Guinness.
Such a Texas man.
Very, very much so.
All right, and with that, we're gonna go to commercial, and maybe a live video of Humut Tabal if I can find it.
You should be able to. If you can't, contact me.
I videotaped it. Ah!
The age of Christianity shall fade to black and burn in the face of Lord Satan.